Years ago, I was a homeless 17-year-old desperately trying to survive while finishing my education. I had found a small rural home that had been abandoned for a few decades and thought of it as the perfect place to seek shelter until the high school was up. I set up shop and was happy with my location, until about a month later when I woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. I heard a wheezing noise and thought it was some kind of sick animal in the house, so I laid back in bed. The wheezing noise didn't stop, and I slowly realized it was the sound of a human wheezing. I had no weapon on me and began to freak out a little. Just as I tried to jump out the window and make a run for it, a little boy limps into my room and says, "Can you help me?" Half of me wants to help this boy with whatever he needs, but the situation just doesn't feel right. Something feels off. We stare at each other for a few seconds and he says, "Can you help me, sir?" I step back down onto the floor and say, "Who are you?" "Don't look in the cabinet," he says, and he leaves. I didn't see him for another 2 weeks. The next time I saw him, he said, "Don't look in the cabinet," again. His appearance kept getting more and more frequent until I saw him every night. He always said, "Don't look in the cabinet." I knew he was referring to the kitchen cabinet, so I decided that I'd just leave it alone to avoid angering the ghost of this boy. I always thought maybe his ghosty toys or something was under there, so I just left it alone. He always wheezed and said the same thing, but he had said a few sentences to me and seemed somewhat friendly for a spirit ghost thing. I guess I got used to him so much that I wasn't scared of him anymore. A few years later, the house was now in the past along with the ghost boy. I lived in a house I had bought with a job and a girlfriend, but I still had to drive by the house about once a month. After a while, they tore it down and it hit the news. Back in the 50s, a family lived there with their disabled boy that they kept in a cabinet. He died at the age of 10 of pneumonia in the cabinet, and the family freaked out over someone finding out about it, so they abandoned the house. In the hot, dry climate of California, his body had mummified completely in the cabinet, and I assume his ghost came back to me. I guess he never wanted me to find his body. Hey, while I have you guys here, just in the unlikely event that any of you guys ever happen to pop up at my house, here are the house rules that I have to follow, and so would you in the event that that ever happened.